and TSN Plus.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Chicago Bears versus the Kansas City Chiefs as they get set to kick off and get ready for this game. But taking a look here at some of the scores throughout the week so far, and there have been some phenomenal ones to say the least. Starting off here, we still have a game currently going on between the Indianapolis Colts and the Baltimore Ravens. Carolina Panthers are currently up 3-0 over the Seattle Seahawks, but the Ravens and Colts are in overtime. The LA Chargers managed to hang on against the Minnesota Vikings, bringing them to a perfect 0-3, and now the Chargers are 1-2 in this one. The Buffalo Bills manhandled the Washington Commanders 37-3. Green Bay Packers were able to come back and find a way to win against the New Orleans Saints, beating them 18-17. The Detroit Lions managed to beat the Atlanta Falcons by a score of 20-6, so they are now 2-1. Both teams fall to that record. The Browns, after that Monday night defeat, beat the Tennessee Titans 27-3, and the Houston Texans shocking the football world, where they beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 37-17. New England Patriots able to hold on with a victory of 15-10 in what was a very rainy affair type of matchup during that game right there. And now the big game, which was the Miami Dolphins beating the Denver Broncos by a score of 70-0, doing a phenomenal job there and just dominating all facets of the game. But as we get ready to go for this game here in Kansas City between the Chicago Bears and the Kansas City Chiefs, obviously the Chicago Bears have had a lot of turnover over the entirety of the week, having a lot of negative things come out and a lot of distractions. Obviously, first one coming, Braxton Jones, their starting left tackle, placed on IR for a neck injury. Then also having the comments made by Justin Fields towards the coaching staff. Obviously, he came back and said that was taken out of context, but that is a big story throughout the week. But the biggest story ultimately was defensive coordinator Alan Williams ultimately departing from the team. But as we get ready for kickoff, the Chiefs ended up losing, so they are going to receive the ball first, with Chicago kicking this one away. And in the backfield to receive this kick is Montrell Washington. And here we go. That one goes all the way back, and it's going to go through the end zone. So we're going to get to see the Kansas City Chiefs offense heading out here first. Patrick Mahomes. Isaiah Pacheco was questionable for the week, but is indeed going to be playing here in today's game. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, Travis Kelce, the main weapons out here as we see Mahomes out of the shotgun. Looking around, trying to see what's going to happen. Checks his man over. Hands this one off to Pacheco. Pacheco gets a couple, but nothing much there. Taking a look here at the starting Chicago Bears offense. Taking a look here at the D-line. Yannick Ngannou, Andrew Billings, Justin Jones, DeMarcus Walker, and then you have TJ Edwards, Tremaine Edmonds, Jack Sanborn from the linebacking position. Jalen Jones, Tyreek Stevenson are your starting corners, and Jaquan Brisker and Elijah Hicks are your starting safeties. No Eddie Jackson here for the Chicago Bears today. And that one quickly picked up and caught by Sky Moore, so the Chiefs are able to gain about 6 on that one. I believe that was actually Rashid Rice on that particular occasion. Ended up catching that one. No, I indeed was correct in. But continue on here. The Chiefs looking at a quick 3 and what I believe is 8. So that catch actually wasn't completed. And them going back to a long third down. So can the Chicago Bears team get a quick 3 and out against the Kansas City Chiefs? Mahomes harassing the backfield, escapes the pocket, and finds Travis Kelce for the first down. Ultimately, that was stopped by number 27 of the Chicago Bears defense. But quick play, good job by Patrick Mahomes, able to avoid pressure and just work his way through the pocket, find his reliever in Kelce, and just get that one down and ready to go. So as we get ready for first down, Matt Eberflus, the one calling the plays for the defense for the Chicago Bears here in this occasion, did the same thing last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but Kadarius Toney gets met in the backfield not the backfield, but he gets met behind the line of scrimmage by Jalen Johnson. So the Chiefs are now behind the sticks in this occasion. And so we're going to a 2nd and I believe 11 coming up on this particular occasion. As we continue on here, Mahomes in the backfield with Pacheco. Moving over Travis Kelce. Two side. Pacheco gets the handoff. He's going to be able to evade a couple, evading even more and gaining about 6 on that rush to move this one forward. Isaiah Pacheco, Jerick McKinnon, the two main backs going to be in the game for the Kansas City Chiefs. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the former first-round pick, also going to be there. The Chicago Bears only running with their 3 running backs, and Patrick Mahomes alone. Jerick McKinnon coming back in, motion forward. Mahomes with this one finally gets the snap off. 3rd and 5. He's going to go deep, and he's not going to be able to get it to his target, and that one's going to bring up a 4th down. So the Chicago Bears are indeed able to get out on this occasion. Rashid Rice was the initial target and just can't bring it in. Going in on this little in route. Perfect pass, just bounced right off of his hands. So the Kansas City Chiefs are indeed going to have to punt this one away. That brings out Tommy Townsend. And in the back for the Chicago Bears to receive this one is going to be Trent Taylor. Taylor gets underneath it and ultimately not able to go. And what a booming punt that's ultimately going to be bounced at the 2-yard line. So bad first bit of positioning here for the Chicago Bears as we see Justin Fields come on out. Justin Fields taking a look here at the starting portion of the season. 40 completions off of 66 attempts. Indeed 66 attempts for 60.6 completion percentage. 427 yards over the 2 games. The 2 interceptions, or 2 touchdowns, the 3 interceptions, has been sacked a grand total of 10 times so far throughout the season. The leading rusher is Khalil Herbert, 16 attempts, 62 yards, tied with Justin Fields. Roschon Johnson, the next man up in this occasion, the only one with a rushing touchdown beside Justin Fields, only one with rushing touchdown in the actual running back department. Taking a look here at the wide receivers, DJ Moore coming in with the most catches the most yards with 129. Cole Kmet with the most catches at 9. Roschon Johnson and DJ Moore are tied for 2nd in this department, but it's going to be very, very tricky for the Chicago Bears defense. George Karlaftis and Chris Jones going to be bringing a ton of pressure off of that defensive line. Nick Bolton not in today's game, so that one's going to put a little bit more pressure on the linebackers of Willie Gay and Leo Chanel. As we continue on here, just waiting for the official offense to take a look here. Let's just take a look here at some of the secondary. Justin Reed, Brylon Cook, Trent McDuffie, L'Jarius Sneed are the ones going to be guarding the the receiving threats of the Chicago Bears. DJ Moore looked much better in his game last week against that Tampa Bay, but this is going to be very, very important. Obviously, a lot of rumors and a lot of stuff coming out about the Chicago Bears team over the week and how Justin Fields wasn't happy about how arguably how he was being used, wants to go back to what this team was looking like at the end of last year. Even DJ Moore looking like he wanted to get it. When you get your runs in, it gets going and gets activated. That is what's being showed up on the screen. But here we see the Bears opening up today. Khalil Herbert obviously starting from their own 3-yard line, not where they want to be. Kind of a little bit of a mismatch. Nate Davis, their big guard free agent, is back today after missing a week. Justin Fields behind the line of scrimmage, making a bunch of calls and moves. Eventually gets the ball. He's going to be passing from his own, in his own end zone. Might be a holding call there, but cannot make it. And does Chase Claypool actually indeed get the catch on this occasion? And can the Bears sneak out of their own end zone? And it appears that they do. So a big start to this one as we get this one going. Quarter number 1. Justin Fields makes that pass. And just like that, rolling out of the pocket, which is one thing that we saw a ton of last season. Roschon Johnson now in the backfield. 2 wide right. Motioning Darnell Mooney across the field. And Roschon Johnson gets the handoff and piles through for a couple of yards, gaining about 4 on the play. And so far, so good for Justin Fields in this one, as he is able to get at least 15 on that first completion to Chase Claypool, and Chase Claypool ultimately getting one of his first big receptions of the year, targeting him first, but Fields out of the shotgun. 1 wide left, Darnell Mooney motioning over to the right side. 2nd and 5. This one being motioned and eventually handed off to Khalil Herbert, but he is met into the backfield but able to break through and gain a couple on this one. So this is going to bring up a 3rd and 4. So far in the game, good couple of rushes here, but 3rd and 4, Darnell Wright, the rookie right tackle who was drafted 10th overall for the Chicago Bears. They have a ton of hope and they really like him, and he shined in last week's game against Tampa Bay, really improving, and they're really only hoping that he's going to improve week to week. Chris Jones going to be a factor to watch for every single play, but 3rd and 4, DJ Moore motioning over to the left-hand side. Justin Fields out of the shotgun. He's going to get taken down. Oh, he actually is able to escape. He's going to use his legs, but not able to get the first down, only getting back to about the line of scrimmage. Again, we talked about that Chiefs defensive front going to be getting after Justin Fields in this one. So just taking a look here at what the looks we're going to come to. No real man open, but had a ton of pressure getting on top of him. Was just able to evade the sack, but unfortunately 4th and 4 is where we are sitting at here at this moment. And the Chicago Bears are going to be punting. So far, offense looked a little bit more improved, but not able to get anything going on that 3rd down occasion. But this one caught and moved around by Montreal. Washington able to gain a couple of yards, and now we're going to send back out for this Kansas City Chiefs offense. But we will be back right after this commercial break. And welcome back to part 2. If you didn't check out part 1, make sure to check it in the description, and we'll put a link up here right here as well. But moving in, and we just finished talking about kind of the Steelers and a lot of that, but taking a look at some of the games this week, we obviously in the last podcast, if you haven't watched that, make sure to go check that out as well. We talked about some of the games that we're looking forward to, but as we get closer to it, it's going to be a lot of really interesting games this week. And is there a team or a game that you think might have upset written on it? Obviously, we've already seen an upset once this week, but is there a game, because I know I have a thought that could potentially be an upset going, but I wonder if you potentially might have one.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say upset just because, I mean, most of these games I'm looking at, both teams aren't very good, or both teams are good, and so it's hard to say one would be an upset over the other. I would say one of the most surprising ones for me would be if the Cardinals can somehow pull out a win against the Commanders, despite both teams being a little lackluster. Um, if we're looking at what I think is most likely for an upset, I would say the Colts beating the Jag would probably be the most likely upset I could see happening.
Well, yeah, let's jump into that game and have a conversation about that. That's funny enough, not the actual answer that I have. I was taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Jags coming into Indianapolis. Their previous matchup was last year. The Colts actually ended up winning that one 34-27. That was all the way back on the 16th of October. So a long time since these two teams have played each other, and Trevor Lawrence only got better and better and better as
Mm-hmm.
the season went on. So this is going to be a fairly interesting game to watch. Obviously, you know, it just screams that the Jags should slaughter the Colts in this one. But Anthony Richardson, if this game And welcome back to part 2. If you didn't check out part 1, make sure to check it in the description. And we'll put a link up here right here as well. But moving in, and we just finished talking about kind of the Steelers and a lot of that, but taking a look at some of the games this week, we obviously in the last podcast, if you haven't watched that, make sure to go check that out as well. We talked about some of the games that we're looking forward to, but as we get closer to it, it's going to be a lot of really, really interesting games this week. And is there a team or a game that you think might have upset written on it? Obviously, we've already seen an upset once this week, but is there a game? Because I know I have a thought that could potentially be an upset going, but I wonder if you potentially might have one.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say upset just because, I mean, most of these games I'm looking at, both teams aren't very good or both teams are good, and so it's hard to say one would be an upset over the other. I would say one of the most surprising ones for me would be if the Cardinals can somehow pull out a win against the Commanders, despite both teams being a little lackluster. If we're looking at what I think is most likely for an upset, I would say the Colts beating the Jag would probably be the most likely upset I could see happening.
Well, yeah, let's jump into that game and have a conversation about that. That's funny enough, not the actual answer that I have for my potential upset, but Indianapolis taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Jags coming into Indianapolis. Their previous matchup was last year. The Colts actually ended up winning that one 34-27. That was all the way back on the 16th of October. So a long time since these two teams have played each other, and Trevor Lawrence only. Tyreek Stevenson was indeed able to get back up, and after that hit, but he is going back to the medical tent, and he's going to be looked at and evaluated. And a little bit of motion on the beginning of that, and so that play is going to be flagged basically immediately as it starts, going to be against the offense. And so Travis Kelce on the official call, so moving them back a little bit more, giving them a little bit more breathing room do the Chicago Bears have now, but also giving Patrick Mahomes a lot more space to work and operate here. Now this is going to be first from their about 6 and a few inches back. So 1st and 6, Mahomes out of the backfield, some pressure coming his way, but moving around the pocket, fires this one and can't quite bring it down is Travis Kelce, who has looked good so far on those 2 catches from Mahomes. Basically every single time he's been pretty much wide open. Terrell Smith, the rookie who the Bears drafted in the 6th round, is in to replace the injured Tyreek Stevenson, which is one of the players that I quickly mentioned was likely going to be the guy coming into before that. But now Mahomes out of the shotgun, fakes that one to Sky Moore, and tosses it to Jerick McKinnon for the opening score here in today's game for a touchdown. Kansas City Chiefs now find themselves up by a score of 6-0. And a nice little reverse fake here as Sky Moore comes over, and Jerick McKinnon just kind of took that toss play, ultimately going into the end zone, and the Chiefs find themselves up by a score of 6-0. Taking a look here at the across the board scoreboard, as this one is indeed good for a extra point, ultimately bringing this one to 7-0. Taking a look here at our out-of-town scoreboard, the Panthers and Seahawks are all tied up here at 3 apiece. The Indianapolis Colts were able to beat the Baltimore Ravens in overtime, 22-19, and the Arizona Cardinals currently shocking the Dallas Cowboys, currently by a score of 9-0, with the ball currently in their hand. So let's see what this Chicago Bears offense is going to be able to do here after that opening touchdown drive, or after that opening touchdown off the Chiefs' second drive, and they really just looked pretty much unstoppable on that occasion. Travis Kelce had a handful of just excellent plays there. Obviously had the penalty, but ultimately didn't hurt them too much. Big plays there. Kick returner here is going to be Tyler Scott off of this kickoff. Harrison Butker. That one goes all the way back, and Tyler Scott says, no thank you, I'm just going to allow this one to hang out in there. Pardon me, that's actually Velus Jones Jr. who was back there. Was the kick returner for most of last year, but Tyler Scott had been taking over a handful of those duties this year, and ultimately now. But what is this Bears offense going to be able to do on this occasion? As Justin Fields last week against Tampa Bay was able to start out decently hot, but it quickly slowed down that first catch to Chase Claypool, but out of the shotgun, too wide to the left. Khalil Herbert in the backfield with Fields. That one ultimately handed off to Khalil Herbert, who breaks for a couple and gets close to 7 or 8 on that rush attempt. RPO right out of the back, and so far Bears are able to kind of get some chip plays here. 3 rushes in a row that have gone for positives. No passing play, or that last pass play ultimately ended in a incompletion, or it was actually a rush for Fields, but he's now back in his backfield. He goes deep looking for DJ Moore, but just cannot connect on that particular occasion. And this is going to be an interesting game for one Kansas City Chiefs coach, particularly their offensive coordinator, Matt Nagy, formerly the Chicago Bears head coach and offensive play caller, knows Justin Fields quite well. And for most of Justin Fields' career under Matt Eberflus and Luke Getsy, just hasn't really looked the same as even when he was under Matt Nagy. A lot of interesting play calls for him, which was the reason, but DJ Moore up top. He's going to be alone. Fields out of the shotgun. Khalil Herbert beside him. And as they're going to have to speed up here, and as that clock trips down to 0, they are able to get it off, and Khalil Herbert is able to get that first down and more on that possession. So Bears get their second first down of today's contest. First one coming off of that Chase Claypool catch, and this time coming off of the Khalil Herbert run. Matt Eberflus coming into today's game, second year as the head coach with a record of 3-16. So he's really looking for an upset in this one just to get his team off to a very different start. And Justin Fields under center, I formation. Darnell Mooney coming in, now motioned out, 3 seconds still on the play clock, and this one eventually, Fields looking back to a pass, moving around, evading in the pocket, still looking downfield, but then eventually decides to run. He has space, and he's able to get all the way up to the Kansas City Chiefs 40-yard line. What he did so much last year, and how he was so dangerous, just running and moving out of the pocket. Doing great work there. And the Bears continuing to move this one down the field. So far, so good on this drive. Fields coming back with a little bit of a smile, going, that's how I like to play. But now he is currently empty in the backfield. Motions for Khalil Herbert to come hang out with him back there. He gets the ball, hands this one off to Khalil Herbert, who's had himself a good day so far here. Gets up and able to gain about 4, maybe 5 on that rush. And Bears continuing down on this drive. Fields motioning out Cole Kmet, his tight end, got a big contract there over the offseason, now under center, 2nd and 7. So Khalil Herbert also able to get this one again and not able to get a ton of space, only able to gain likely about 2 on that particular play. So far, looking at a 3rd and 6, so only 1 on that particular rush. So let's see what this Chicago Bears team is going to be able to do. Obviously, if you are down behind the Kansas City Chiefs and you've seen what your defense has done for most of the year, you really want to try to keep pace with them. 1 for 2 on 3rd down conversions. They go back. Fields in shotgun. He's going to have to avoid pressure, and he's ultimately going to be taken down for a sack by Chris Jones. And he gets his first sack of the day, coming off of a great performance last week against the Jaguars. And that is ultimately going to kill the Chicago Bears drive in its tracks. And he beats the rookie Darnell Wright. So that one's going to be tough for the young man. Obviously going up against Chris Jones is not a favorable matchup in the slightest. But now with 4th and 14, the Bears are going to have to elect to punt. So Trenton Gill going back there, he's going to be punting to Montrell Washington, who's ultimately just going to allow this one to bounce back. And the Chicago Bears, they looked like they were going to be able to bring that one down. Jalen Jones almost had it there at the 1-yard line, but it bounced just right through his legs. And that's going to bring us up to our next commercial break. And welcome back to part 2. If you didn't check out part 1, make sure to check it in the description. And we'll put a link up here, right here as well. But moving in, and we just finished talking about kind of the Steelers and a lot of that. But taking a look at some of the games this week, we obviously in the last podcast, if you haven't watched that, make sure to go check that out as well. We talked about some of the games that we're looking forward to. But as we get closer to it, it's going to be a lot of really, really interesting games this week. And is there a team or a game that you think might have upset written on it? Obviously, we've already seen an upset once this week, but is there a game? Because I know I have a thought that could potentially be an upset going, but I wonder if you potentially might have one.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say upset just because, I mean, most of these games I'm looking at, both teams aren't very good or both teams are good, and so it's hard to say one would be an upset over the other. I would say one of the most surprising ones for me would be if the Cardinals can somehow pull out a win against the Commanders, despite both teams being a little lackluster. If we're looking at what I think is most likely for an upset, I would say the Colts beating the Jag would probably be the most likely upset I could see happening.
Well, yeah, let's jump into that game and have a conversation about that. That's funny enough, not the actual answer that I have for my potential upset, but Indianapolis taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Jags coming into Indianapolis. Their previous matchup was last year. The Colts actually ended up winning that one 34-27. That was all the way back on the 16th of October. So a long time since these two teams have played each other, and Trevor Lawrence only got better and better and better as the season went on. So this is going to be a fairly interesting game to watch. Obviously, you know, it just screams at the... And as we get ready to go back on this Chiefs eventual option, but yeah, now Travis Kelce kind of at the moment a little bit down, third fewest catches and yards for this Kansas City Chiefs team since obviously the departure of Tyreek Hill and Juju Smith-Schuster. So it's definitely going to be a little bit more of a wide receiver by committee, but Patrick Mahomes eventually finding his running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's ultimately meant for, I believe he's going to get a gain of a yard there on forward progress. Travis Kelce, again, such a big purpose of this, and just throughout this game, gonna be definitely used. But Travis Kelce for the Kansas City Chiefs is gonna be big, and the Bears, with 2 minutes remaining in this first quarter, are gonna have to really zone in and try to stop him. Travis Kelce moving closer to the line. Mahomes hands this one off to Edwards-Helaire, calling his number back-to-back times. Jaquan Brisker with the tackle, but too late as Edwards-Helaire is able to get a first down rush and maybe a little bit of a yard afterwards. But the Bears currently are rotating Greg Strongman Jr. and Josh Blackwood at nickel just to, I guess, really get a sense of who is going to be their guy while Kyler Gordon is on the IR with a broken hand. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire able to gain a couple on the rush to the right. Bears are able to come up on that one. So 2nd and about 8. Patrick Mahomes so far in today's game, 6 for 9, 62 yards, and a passing touchdown. As we get to the later stages of this first quarter, looked very good. Had 2 long passes to Travis Kelce, 1 pass to Sky Moore that were all really the ones that gained most of those yardage. Mahomes finds Travis Kelce, and he's able to evade a few tackles, but not able to get to the first down mark. So that's Travis Kelce's 3rd catch of today's contest. You know, these two are always going to be a dynamic duo. So Chiefs looking at a 3rd down. This could be very, very big for the Bears if they are able to stop them here. But with only 17 seconds, actually continuing to tick down, 18 seconds on the play clock. Wonder if the Kansas City Chiefs are just going to head into the second quarter, and that is exactly what is going to happen. So with a few, that is going to bring us to the end of the first quarter here in this contest. The Kansas City Chiefs currently up by a score of 7-0 on a 3rd down over the Chicago Bears. And welcome back to part 2. If you didn't check out part 1, make sure to check it in the description. And we'll put a link up here, right here as well. But moving in, and we just finished talking about kind of the Steelers and a lot of that. But taking a look at some of the games this week, we obviously in the last podcast, if you haven't watched that, make sure to go check that out as well. We talked about some of the games that we're looking forward to. But as we get closer to it, it's going to be a lot of really, really interesting games this week. And is there a team or a game that you think might have upset written on it? Obviously, we've already seen an upset once this week, but is there a game? Because I know I have a thought that could potentially be an upset going, but I wonder if you potentially might have one.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say upset just because, I mean, most of these games I'm looking at, both teams aren't very good, or both teams are good, and so it's hard to say one would be an upset over the other. I would say one of the most surprising ones for me would be if the Cardinals can somehow pull out a win against the Commanders, despite both teams being a little lackluster. If we're looking at what I think is most likely for an upset, I would say the Colts beating the Jag would probably be the most likely upset I could see happening.
Well, yeah, let's jump into that game and have a conversation about that. That's funny enough, not the actual answer that I have for my potential upset, but Indianapolis taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Jags coming into Indianapolis. Their previous matchup was last year. The Colts actually ended up winning that one 34-27. That was all the way back on the 16th of October. So a long time since these two teams have played each other, and Trevor Lawrence only got better and better and better as the season went on. So as we break the half and come back here to America's game of the week, Chicago Bears looking to get the Kansas City Chiefs out on this possession. Kansas City Chiefs 3rd and 2. What are they going to be able to do here on this occasion? Can they get to the one out? Mahomes going back, and this one ultimately finds a wide open Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce thought he didn't get touched down, but referees call that one dead, and this drive continues to stay alive. Travis Kelce just not guarded by anyone, so bold strategy here by the Chicago Bears on that third down. They want to manage to stay in this game. They got to at least make sure that they're covering him at least with one guy. 4 catches, 55 yards so far here. Isaiah Pacheco on the handoff. He's going to find some space. He's going to get a lot more room, gaining about a 16-yard carry. And Isaiah Pacheco continuing this offensive drive for the Kansas City Chiefs, moving this one up. And good run there to continue on with this drive. And what are the Chicago Bears going to be able to do? Obviously, a tough test for them all day long. Mahomes, now back. He's going to be pressured, but Rusher was a little bit slow. Green was almost there. And Grayvon Dexter was the last man to push him out. And Mahomes, for a gain of maybe about only 1 on that particular rush. But good coverage there by the Bears to not allow any throw. And they're just able to kind of move this one along. Dominique Robinson was the one who was able to get a little bit more of that pressure. The rookie from last year that the Chicago Bears team believes that can be something in part of this rotation. But 2nd and 8, so Mahomes was indeed able to get a couple on that rush. Edwards-Helaire with it off of the toss. Met after only gaining 1, so we're going to a 3rd and 7. Grayvon Dexter was able to get the tackle on that occasion, so the D tackle. So 3rd and long for this Chiefs team. Again, another situation where you're likely to be dialing up Travis Kelce. So the Bears need to really make sure that they can cover on that occasion. Let's see what the Chiefs are going to be dialing up here. Creed Humphrey, the center, waiting. Travis Kelce, slow movement, but he's going to be able to find space. What are the Bears going to be able to do? And Jerick McKinnon out of the backfield was able to catch that one and gain a 1st down for this Chiefs team. So they're able to continue on, and now they are in the red zone. Patrick Mahomes firing on all cylinders with this offense, just moving like it's absolutely nothing. Jerick McKinnon again catching that one and making a move and getting that one in. And for the Bears, and that is not what you want to see. Number 9, Jaquan Brisker, down on the field. And what has already been an injured field secondary with Tyreek Stevenson, Eddie Jackson, Kyler Gordon. This is not what you want to see. Quendell Johnson, the man behind Jaquan Brisker, likely to be coming in. And that, again, just tough look for the Bears right now, who are already suffering in that secondary department. But we'll be back here once we finally see what is occurring on that one. And welcome back to part 2. If you didn't check out part 1, make sure to check it in the description. And we'll put a link up here, right here as well. But moving in, and we just finished talking about kind of the Steelers and a lot of that. But taking a look at some of the games this week, we obviously in the last podcast, if you haven't watched that, make sure to go check that out as well. We talked about some of the games that we're looking forward to, but as we get closer to it, it's going to be a lot of really, really interesting games this week. And is there a team or a game that you think might have upset written on it? Obviously, we've already seen an upset once this week, but is there a game, because I know I have a thought that could potentially be an upset going, but I wonder if you potentially might have one.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say upset just because, I mean, most of these games I'm looking at, both teams aren't very good, or both teams are good, and so it's hard to say one would be an upset over the other. Um, I would say one of the most surprising ones for me would be if the Cardinals can somehow pull out a win against the Commanders, despite both teams being a little lackluster. Um, if we're looking at what I think is most likely for an upset, I would say the Colts beating the Jag would probably be the most likely upset I could see happening.
Well, yeah, let's jump into that game and have a conversation about that. That's funny enough, not the actual answer that I have for my potential upset, but Indianapolis Brisker heading to the medical tent to be evaluated. So again, just not great look for the Bears, but Patrick Mahomes able to find, and they do indeed get the touchdown on this play to Rasheen Rice, getting his next touchdown of the year, and continuing to add to this lead are the Chiefs. And again, you see Jaquan Brisker go out on that last play, just making sure this officially goes in, and after a replay, I don't think that indeed went in. I believe he was going to be just short, but pretty much Rasheen Rice was completely out in the middle, wide open. But officials are indeed going to be looking at this one, and just off of the replays that I can see, it was really having this Chiefs team, and Rice, it appears his knee was down just before that ball hit the goal, and this is going to be a really good angle for us to see here. Does he get there? Yeah, no, I think they're going to be ultimately bring this one back, and the Chiefs are going to have to bring their offense a really good clear angle here. You can clearly see the ball has not hit the white line, and likely going to be coming back here on this occasion. I do believe so. So I have been wrong in the past on some of these plays, but Mahomes and the offense still appears to be out, but it's going to be first and goal, and the play was overturned. So here comes the Chiefs back, pretty much inches away from Kansas, or from the Chicago Bears end zone. This one handed off to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who gets stuffed right at the line, but is likely going to be in, and indeed he is. So the Kansas City Chiefs only need one more play to get it. This time it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the former first-round pick for the Chiefs, getting in and scoring on that occasion. And if you're the Chicago Bears right now, you need 7 points on this next drive, or this thing is going to start to get ugly. And with how explosive this Chiefs offense is, you don't want to get behind. You really want to try to go out there and make a statement. And unfortunately, with how this Bears defense has been playing, it's not necessarily the best look that you want to see. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire getting in there for the easy score. Now going back for the extra point. Harrison Butker kicks it off, and it is good, going all the way through. So just like that, Kansas City Chiefs find themselves up by a score of 14-0 over the Chicago Bears, and we'll be back after a quick commercial break. And welcome back to part 2. If you didn't check out part 1, make sure to check it in the description, and we'll put a link up here, right here as well. But moving in, and we just finished talking about kind of the Steelers and a lot of that, but taking a look at some of the games this week, we obviously in the last podcast, if you haven't watched that, make sure to go check that out as well. We talked about some of the games that we're looking forward to, but as we get closer to it, it's going to be a lot of really, really interesting games this week. And is there a team or a game that you think might have upset written on it? Obviously, we've already seen an upset once this week, but is there a game? Because I know I have a thought that could potentially be an upset going, but I wonder if you potentially might have one.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say upset just because, I mean, most of these games I'm looking at, both teams aren't very good or both teams are good, and so it's hard to say one would be an upset over the other. Um, I would say one of the most surprising ones for me would be if the Cardinals can somehow pull out a win against the Commanders, despite both teams being a little lackluster. Um, if we're looking at what I think is most likely for an upset, I would say the Colts beating the Jag would probably be the most likely upset I could see happening.
Well, yeah, let's jump into that game and have a conversation about that. That's funny enough, not the actual answer that I have for my potential upset, but Indianapolis taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Jags coming into Indianapolis. Their previous matchup was last year. The Colts actually ended up winning that one 34-27. That was all the way back on the 16th of October. So a long time since these two teams have played each other, and Trevor Lawrence only got better and better and better as the season went on. So this is going to be a fairly interesting game to watch. Obviously, you know, it just screams that the Jags should slaughter the Colts in this one. But Anthony Richardson, if this game is going to be decided by something. So now, getting ready for the kickoff, Justin Fields really feeling the pressure, but Chiefs kick this one off, and this one's going through the back of the end zone. Velus Jones Jr., third round pick out of last year's draft, elects to not take this one, and gonna be really, really big drive here for the Bears. Not one of those drives where it needs to end in a touchdown, not by any means. But you need to put up points, and if you can get yourself a touchdown, that is what you ultimately want to have happen. Now Justin Fields with Roschon Johnson in the backfield. Out of the shotgun. T formation. Hands this one off to Roschon Johnson. Actually elects to keep it and gets about 6 on that play. Moves forward for a good bit of yards there. Chicago Bears rushing offense last season led the NFL. This season, they currently aren't anywhere close to that one. And so you really want to try to get back to that rushing. And it is always tricky to lead the NFL in rushing year after year, but you still want to be close to the top. And right now, Fields only thrown 2 passes, only completed 1 for 15 yards. That was to Chase Claypool. Fields being blocked. Good block by Mooney, but he's going to have to throw this one. Gets that one over to Cole Kmet for the first down. And now the Chicago Bears are able to get a little bit more movement going on this drive. And right now, I think what's really shocking in the NFL world at the moment is the Cardinals are currently up 15-3 over the Dallas Cowboys in a shocker. But Cole Kmet on that drive won his opening catch for 14 yards. So Chicago Bears getting their own tight end in on this one. Roschon Johnson in the backfield. Chase Claypool being motioned over. Fields hands this one off. This time he does give it off to Johnson. Only able to gain a couple on this occasion. Looks to gain about 2 or 3. Bears really trying to get back to that identity, and with where it is in the game right now, still under 10 minutes remaining in this second quarter, you don't want to really go away from your offense, but at some point you are going to have to try and open it up at least a little bit and get this moving at some point. Fields under center with 2 to the right of him. Box is loaded for the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to be bringing all sorts of pressure. Roschon Johnson stumbles and bumbles down, not able to get anything, maybe getting back to the line of scrimmage, but the Chicago Bears are going to find themselves behind the sticks again on this occasion. 7-8 men in the box on that last one. Gotta wonder that was the right call to do that outside run. Maybe just try to do a bootleg, but 3rd and 7 for the Bears. Assuming very loud in this Kansas City Chiefs arena. And Fields out of the shotgun. Motions to Johnson. Has time to throw, but he's being pressured. Can he get out? Flag out. Fields does make a throw, but ultimately just throws it to the Kansas City sidelines. Is this likely going to be a holding call? I suspect so. And unfortunately, the Bears cannot convert. Holding offense indeed was the call. So the Bears just continue to really struggle here now with a 4th and 7. They're going to have to punt the ball away, and they're just going to give this Kansas City Chiefs team just even more time and more explosiveness here with a ton of time on the clock. You don't want to be going into halftime down 21-0, and again, you didn't need to get a touchdown on this drive, but it was very crucial that you at least got points. And the Bears initially started out like they were looking fairly good, but this punt all the way back and a few players being bumped into, and the Chiefs aren't able to get out of their own 20, ultimately being brought back towards, looks to be around that 12-yard line is where they're going to start. But again, the Bears just not able to stay on the field, and this is going to bring the Chiefs offense back out. But we're going to head right back into a commercial break before the Kansas City Chiefs. What can they do on that next occasion? And welcome back to part 2. If you didn't check out part 1, make sure to check it in the description. And we'll put a link up here, right here as well. But moving in, and we just finished talking about kind of the Steelers and a lot of that. But taking a look at some of the games this week, we obviously in the last podcast, if you haven't watched that, make sure to go check that out as well. We talked about some of the games that we're looking forward to, but as we get closer to it, it's going to be a lot of really, really interesting games this week. And is there a team or a game that you think might have upset written on it? Obviously, we've already seen an upset once this week, but is there a game, because I know I have a thought that could potentially be an upset going, but I wonder if you potentially might have one.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say upset just because, I mean, most of these games I'm looking at, both teams aren't very good or both teams are good, and so it's hard to say one would be an upset over the other. I would say one of the most surprising ones for me would be if the Cardinals can somehow pull out a win against the Commanders, despite both teams being a little lackluster. If we're looking at what I think is most likely for an upset, I would say the Colts beating the Jag would probably be the most likely upset I could see happening.
Well, yeah, let's jump into that game and have a conversation about that. That's funny enough, not the actual answer that I have for my potential upset, but Indianapolis taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Jags coming into Indianapolis. Their previous matchup was last year. The Colts actually ended up winning that one 34-27. That was all the way back on the 16th of October. So a long time since these two teams have played each other, and Trevor Lawrence only got better and better and better as the season went on. So this is going to be a fairly interesting game to watch. Obviously, you know, it just screams. And now starting this Chiefs possession with this lead of 14-0. And honestly, the Kansas City Chiefs can really kind of do anything they want here at this moment. Again, starting back now on their own 11, starting on their own 12, Mahomes, all the time in the world, eventually finds his receiver in Moore. Sky Moore catching that one, gaining likely about 6 on that occasion. What are they going to be able to do here? So far in this game, Mahomes 10 for 13. 11 for 14, 111 yards, 1 touchdown, 2nd and 6 coming up. Andy Reid has a ton of plays likely in this. Mahomes fakes this one to Pacheco, moving around the pocket, trying to find some space, tosses it deep. Can he get it? And he does indeed. My oh my, what an amazing catch. Believe that was Noah Gray who ended up catching that one. And just yeeted that one down and finding some very open space. That was Justin Watson, the wide receiver, number 84, getting that one. And ultimately able to find some more open space. And Mahomes just launched it, but he also took a little bit of a hit there after the play. But Bears now find themselves having their defense backed up in their own yard. The total yards for both teams, the Chiefs 164 to the Chicago Bears 74. Timeout called on the field to just get everything situated and sorted. And right now, the Kansas City Chiefs are pretty much just doing whatever they want on offense, saying, you are not going to stop us with your lackluster defense. And have really just been manhandling this Chicago Bears team. And defense just really looking for any sort of stop. And if you want, and if you're a fan of the Chicago Bears, you're just saying, we just want to see some level of improvement from the Chicago Bears defense. 12 for 15, 148 yards, one passing touchdown for the Kansas City Chiefs, and with 7:11 still remaining in this second quarter, you know they're not trying to take their foot off the gas whatsoever. They saw what Miami did earlier, but this one handed off. Now McKinnon passes that back to Mahomes, who ultimately finds Noah Gray this time, but not able to quite get to the first down. But what a unique play there. Mahomes tosses it to McKinnon, then ultimately McKinnon decides to toss that one back to Mahomes, who sends that one over to Gray, and Gray a little bit slow after getting up on that one. He's going to be looked at, and Matt Nagy getting some of the play calls in on this one, dialed up a good one there for the Chiefs, going up against his former team in the Chicago Bears when he was the head coach for 4 years. This one, Isaiah Pacheco able to get that extra yardage for that first down and more, moving this one forward, doing a good job there. Chiefs convert yet another one. Let's see what the Chiefs are going to be able to dial up here on this occasion moving forward. Mahomes under center. Pacheco in the backfield. This one handed off to Pacheco. They're giving his name back-to-back carries. He's able to go up the front and gain a couple on this one. Dallas Cowboys appear to have struck back with Rico Dollins getting that one in for the touchdown. So it is now a 15-10 game. So we saw the Cardinals last week go up big against the Giants. It ultimately allowed that one to get out of hand and allow them to come back. So they don't want the Cowboys to try to stray back in this particular game either. But coming back to Chicago and the Chiefs, Mahomes again hands this one off to Isaiah Pacheco. 2nd and 5. He's going to be able to get that first down and more. Jaquan Brisker back into the game for the Bears, able to make that tackle so Bears fans can breathe a sigh of relief. But in other news, Traquan Stevenson's the rookie corner, who they are very high on, ultimately not able to come back in the game today. He's being evaluated for a concussion. And Bears just really going to have to find any and all possible way to stop this team at all with plays in opponent's territory. The Chiefs have 15 and the Bears only have 4. But now Chiefs in the red zone. Mahomes back. He's looking. He fires. He just goes a little bit over top of Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Just got a little bit too high up in the air on that occasion. And the Bears bring this to a 2nd and 10. What are the Chiefs going to be able to do here? Valdes-Scantling a little bit slow to get up on that occasion. And Jalen Johnson for the Bears is slow to get up here. And again, some of the secondary woes. This is just not what you want to see whatsoever at all. And again, this day of secondary injuries for the Bears just continues to appear to be getting worse, but we'll be back once he's able to get back up and going. And welcome back to part 2. If you didn't check out part 1, make sure to check it in the description, and we'll put a link up here right here as well. But moving in, and we just finished talking about kind of the Steelers and a lot of that, but taking a look at some of the games this week, we obviously in the last podcast, if you haven't watched that, make sure to go check that out as well. We talked about some of the games that we're looking forward to, but as we get closer to it, it's going to be a lot of really, really interesting games this week. And is there a team or a game that you think might have upset written on it? Obviously, we've already seen an upset once this week, but is there a game, because I know I have a thought that could potentially be an upset going, but I wonder if you potentially might have one.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say upset just because, I mean, most of these games I'm looking at, both teams aren't very good, or both teams are good, and so it's hard to say one would be an upset over the other. I would say one of the most surprising ones for me would be if the Cardinals can somehow pull out a win against the Commanders, despite both teams being a little lackluster. If we're looking at what I think is most likely for an upset, I would say the Colts beating the Jag would probably be the most likely upset I could see happening.
Well, yeah, let's jump into that game and have a conversation about that. That's funny enough, not the actual answer that I have for my potential upset, but Indianapolis taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Jags coming into Indianapolis. Their previous matchup was last year. The Colts actually ended up winning that one 34-27. That was all the way back on the 16th of October. So a long time since these two teams have played each other, and Trevor Lawrence only got. It does appear that Jalen Johnson is able to get off under his own power, which is very good to see. But the Chiefs, 2nd and 10, still in their own zone. They screen pass that to Isaiah Pacheco. He's able to break a few, almost getting that right back to the first down marker, but still getting a ton on this one. And again, the Chiefs just able to do pretty much everything that they basically ever dreamed of. Or Kansas City is basically able to do whatever they want to on this drive, and doing good so far. But here at 3rd and 1, Mahomes under shotgun, and Isaiah Pacheco able to break forward and is able to gain the first down after getting a couple. And so just like that, the Chiefs continuing here in the red zone, moving forward and doing a lot of great work so far. Chiefs, 1st and goal, 1st and a couple on the Bears' 3-yard line. Mahomes in shotgun, motions for Scantling over. Mahomes in the backfield. He tries to get that one to Pacheco. Ultimately not able to get it in his hands. Tremaine Edmonds there to kind of help, if not break that up, at least secure the tackle. Pretty much been the main successful guy on this Bears defense. Pretty much only being able to do, but Jalen Johnson back in after 1 or 2 plays. Mahomes, 19 dropbacks, 0 sacks, and only pressured 2 times. So at least for the Bears, they are getting somewhat pressure here in this game. Going back to that first game against Green Bay where they only were able to record 4. And this one being tossed and into the end zone by Jerick McKinnon for his 2nd of the day. This time his first receiving touchdown. And the Chiefs continue to go off. And if you're the Chicago Bears, you need to find a way to strike back quickly on this one, because it is getting ugly and out of hand quickly. But nice bit of motion there. Jaquan Brisker just couldn't quite get there for the Bears. Harrison Butker gonna be going back with 3:05 remaining still in this one. He kicks this one, goes up and through to make this one a 21-point game and difference. And if you're the Chicago Bears, it is now touchdown time pretty much on every single drive, because at this point the Chiefs have been able to do really whatever they want. And if you want to just try to maintain and stay in this game, you really are just going to have to find a way to take that ball away and just try to chip away at this game any way that you possibly can. But Jerick McKinnon, that was an 11-play drive, 88 yards, took off 5.5 minutes. McKinnon on that 2-yard was able to get a 2-yard rushing touchdown a little bit earlier in the game. Just taking a look here at some of these scores. Carolina currently 13-9 over the Seahawks, and Dallas still down 15-10 behind Arizona. Velus Jones Jr. in the backfield for the Bears to receive this kick. The boot is up, and it is going to go all the way back through the end zone. And so the Bears are going to start at their own 25-yard line. And again, last time I said the Bears, they need points, and they weren't able to get it. But they now need a touchdown just to even stay remotely in this game. And if they're not able to do that, then unfortunately they're really going to struggle here pretty much for the remainder of it. But looking at the total plays, Bears have 16 with 74 yards to the Chiefs. I believe that was 32 and over 200 yards so far in this game. But Fields alone in the backfield, and likely going to be a penalty for delay of game unless the Bears got a timeout going. And unfortunately they don't, so they're moving back 5 yards. And that is just not what you want to see from your quarterback, particularly just coming right out after this. And appears to be some confusion there between the offensive linemen. And find yourself 1st and 15. Fields again alone in the backfield. Herbert looked like he was going to motion. Now ball eventually hiked, and this one going to Khalil Herbert, who tries to gain a couple, but ultimately fumbles the ball, and this one's just being bumped around and ultimately recovered by the Chiefs. And the comedy of errors that is the Chicago Bears continues throughout this game. And oh my goodness, on a play that looked like he was actually going to gain a decent amount for the Chicago Bears, Khalil Herbert trying to gain a bunch of those yards back, at least get them back and manageable. But McDuffie, the corner for the Chiefs, just pops that one out, and it just bounced around. And on a drive where you really needed to just make sure that you didn't have any errors going into it, this one continues. And we already saw a team get up to 70 points here today, where we saw the Dolphins beat down the Denver Broncos. But can we see another big score game here? But this time Mahomes in the backfield hands this one off to Isaiah Pacheco, but Isaiah Pacheco met behind the line, but he's still getting bounced around, shook off 2 tackles, but eventually the entirety of the Chicago Bears defense able to get there to slow that one down. So after initially avoiding Dominique Robinson, who has, needless to say, he's struggled on run protect or on run identification, but he was able to get there, but just not able to bring the tackle down. Luckily for him, the rest of his team was able to help. But on this 2nd and 14, Mahomes goes back, looking around, pump fakes, finally sends this one over to Pacheco, and just kind of his dump off, man. Pacheco able to gain a handful. Looks like it's going to be about a 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. but still, it's actually going to be a 3rd and 7. But Chiefs had Mahomes just had all day to throw, and was really just continuing to move here. And that brings us to the 2-minute warning. So we'll be back here shortly. And welcome back to part 2. If you didn't check out part 1, make sure to check it in the description. And we'll put a link up here, right here as well. But moving in, and we just finished talking about kind of the Steelers and a lot of that. But taking a look at some of the games this week, we obviously in the last podcast, if you haven't watched that, make sure to go check that out as well. We talked about some of the games that we're looking forward to. But as we get closer to it, it's going to be a lot of really, really interesting games this week. And is there a team or a game that you think might have upset written on it? Obviously, we've already seen an upset once this week, but is there a game? Because I know I have a thought that could potentially be an upset going, but I wonder if you potentially might have one.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say upset just because, I mean, most of these games I'm looking at, both teams aren't very good, or both teams are good, and so it's hard to say one would be an upset over the other. I would say one of the most surprising ones for me would be if the Cardinals can somehow pull out a win against the Commanders, despite both teams being a little lackluster. If we're looking at what I think is most likely for an upset, I would say the Colts beating the Jag would probably be the most likely upset I could see happening.
Well, yeah, let's jump into that game and have a conversation about that. That's funny enough, not the actual answer that I have for my potential upset, but Indianapolis taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Jags coming into Indianapolis. Their previous matchup was last year. The Colts actually ended up winning that one 34-27. That was all the way back on the 16th of October. So a long time since these two teams have played each other, and Trevor Lawrence only got better and better and better as the season went on. So this is going to be a fairly interesting. And now that we're back after the 2-minute warning, a 3rd and 7, 21-0 here in this one. Kansas City Chiefs over the Chicago Bears. Chiefs looking to add to their lead in this occasion. Mahomes backfield, he's going to fire this one, but just cannot quite get it to Sky Moore. And Sky Moore looking around for a flag, and he's going to get one. And Chiefs are just going to continue to add on to this lead here. If you're the Chicago Bears right now, this has just been a tough game. And penalty is actually coming towards, I believe, the Chiefs. And so it is, and so it's a 4th down. And so they're going to elect to kick this one. Jawan Taylor for the offside penalty. Actually, so we've seen him. So Harrison Butker going to be coming out for the kick to extend this lead. 3 for 3 this year. 39 yards was his longest. This is a 41-yard attempt. It is up, and it is straight through the uprights. So the Kansas City Chiefs add on to their lead, making this 24-0. And again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but the Bears, if they want to continue to stay in this game, they need to score points on this drive. Great tweet that I'm reading here. Nobody expected the Bears to be a Super Bowl contender this year. Ryan Poles inherited a mess, and this was always going to take time, but this play is laughable. They somehow gotten worse after being the worst team in the NFL. This is not an indictment of the whole organization. What is it? And frankly, I kind of have to agree on this one, but the Bears, they have not looked good at all this year, and if you're a Bears fan, it has been really, really tough, and still a lot of time to change the outcome of this game, but unfortunately it is just you need to do something here on this drive. You can't allow your team to go 0-3 again and to have a go, but they're bringing up 70 points scored by Miami today, most in the NFL since 1966. Just a massive game for the Dolphins. But let's see what the Bears are going to be able to hopefully be able to do on this particular drive. Justin Fields out of his own backfield has Khalil Herbert there with him. Ball is hiked. He's going back. He's starting to be pressured. He launches this one, trying to find DJ Moore, and he ultimately hits him, but he can't bring it in. DJ Moore, the oh so reliable wide receiver that the Bears brought in with that number 1 trade. Unfortunately, he was able to get this one deep, but that one just bounced and went through his hands. And what should be a Chicago Bears massive gain, this is going to bring them to a 2nd and long, and fortunately the comedy of errors for the Chicago Bears just continues here. DJ Moore just not being able to haul this one in. Fields out of the shotgun, again looking for a shot, and this one ultimately going to be intercepted after a tip, and the Bears just cannot do anything on offense at the moment. And this one is going to continue to get ugly for the Bears, as it's just really just disaster after disaster after disaster on this one. And let's see who ultimately had this go off of the hands. Ball launched, and ultimately, I don't really know who Fields was trying to throw to on that one. Chase Claypool, but I don't know if he didn't even see the defender on this one. But that one just goes right into the hands of the Chiefs at the 24 or 26-yard line. And Chiefs looking to extend this one. Rice with it, moving forward, able to gain a bunch on this one. Moves this one forward, and now the Chiefs looking to continue to add to the lead here today. And if the Chiefs are able to score on this possession, I don't know if you bring out the mercy rule, but it just kind of feels like the Bears probably shouldn't continue this one with Rice. Able to get this one through. I'm not sure he was able to get to the end zone, but again, back-to-back plays for Rashid Rice. Getting very, very close on that occasion. And this Chiefs defense just really doing whatever they want, whenever they want. And bounce down, so yeah, confirmed Jaquan Brisker able to get that hit. And it has been a tough one to watch if you're a Bears fan, folks. Let's see what this defense or this offense of the Chiefs is going to be able to do here, what they're going to be able to dial up. So we have a timeout down here on the field, just getting everything situated and sorted. So, as we get ready for this one with little over 68 seconds on the play, or in still this game, but Chiefs now eventually going back up to the line in heavy personnel. Isaiah Pacheco, he's just going to be able to run this one in, making it look easy, and the Chiefs add to their lead, making this one a grand total of 30-0. And it does not look pretty here at the moment. And with 66 seconds still remaining in this game, the Bears are going to have at least one more drive, but you're going to have to be throwing this one a ton. And right now, it just doesn't look like they have any confidence. Chiefs continuing to blow this one out. The extra point is up, and it is indeed good. Bears are going to have to find some way, somehow, to get any points in this game. And the takeaways, Kansas City Chiefs have two, one off of that fumble recovery from Khalil Herbert. Back-to-back takeaways for this Chiefs defense, which is ultimately just dominating the Chicago Bears offense here at the moment. And kind of makes you wonder over the last few weeks, or the last few years, pardon me, the Bears have been drafting a bunch of defensive players, and it appears that Tremaine Edmunds is being looked at by some of the training staff. So if you're the Bears right now, that is the last thing that you want to see. The leader, pretty much the best player on your defense, you don't want to see him go down. And it's just not really what you want to see here. This one goes up, and it is going to go through the back of the end zone. Velus Jones actually caught that one, but called for the fair catch, so it's going to back to the 25-yard line. Taking a look here at some of the scores around the league right now. Carolina Panthers over the Seattle Seahawks, 13-12 going into halftime. The Arizona Cardinals are up 18-10 over the Dallas Cowboys with about 37 seconds remaining in that contest. Still to come later tonight, the Las Vegas Raiders at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now Justin Fields in his backfield, 3 for 7, 34 yards and an interception. Ultimately passes that one forward to Roschon Johnson. They're able to gain what looks like about 5 or 6 on that one. They're going to give them, I believe, 6 on that occasion, but just an easy pitch and catch. 6 indeed on that one, so the Bears are able to move this one. But being down 31, you really kind of got to throw out the game plan that you came in with today, and you're going to have to try to throw and find the ball. Fields alone in the backfield. Mooney and Moore to his right. Claypool and Kmet. Kmet appears to be open right now. Fields throwing it deep. He's looking for Chase Claypool. Chase Claypool cannot bring it down. And again, one of the decisions I mentioned there, Cole Kmet completely wide open here on this one. Not being looked at, but Chase Claypool called for the ball. He was one-on-one, just not able to bring it down on that play. And so Bears going to a 3rd and 4. And this is kind of, again, the last 3 or 4 drives have really been a lot of kind of do or die situation, but this one really is. And Bears are just able to get on. They aren't actually able to get that one off. So this is the 2nd delay of game penalty for this Bears team. Again, when you have situations like this, you just cannot have these mental errors. And it is, for the Bears, they're just really they're making it a lot harder for them than what they need to. And you definitely looked at this game for the Bears, saying that it was going to be tough for them to come into Kansas City and win. But Fields out of the shotgun here. He's going to toss this one down to DJ Moore, but can he connect on this one? And this one just goes out of bounds. That's going to bring out the punting unit. And this Bears offense, again, just continues to struggle. And they're going to give the Chiefs an opportunity. I wonder what the Chiefs are going to elect to do. Are they going to try to get some points here before going into halftime? Or are they just going to ultimately kind of run out the clock and go into halftime with this 31-point advantage? That one almost got blocked as it moves over. Chiefs are able to get this one. And now, can they get some blocking? Velus Jones actually comes up with the special teams tackle in this occasion. Decent run by Washington. And again, going back to what I was just saying. What do the Chiefs do here with 35 seconds, 2 timeouts still left? And if you're the Chiefs, why wouldn't you put the foot down on the Chicago Bears and really just try to ultimately put this one to an end? And really just go at it. Mahomes 18 completions, over 200 yards, 2 touchdowns in the shotgun. So they're going to elect to throw this one. Mahomes moving around. He's going to break free, and he's able to gain a ton for a first down. Kansas City, again, just continuing to just do whatever they want to. This Chicago Bears team at the moment. And just moving this one forward. Again, the Bears just couldn't bring the pressure. The defensive side, at least, or the secondary was at least able to cover up there. But Kansas City now at the 50-yard line, the halfway point of the field. McKinnon moving around. Mahomes moving forward. We do have a flag down on the field, but a completely wide open Montez Valdez-Scantling able to get him, but what is the flag going to be? Is this one going to be coming back? But for the moment, it looks to be that the Chiefs are going to be up by a score of 37-0 before the extra point. But what is this penalty going to be? Indeed, it's going to be on the offense, so this one coming back, so that play not going to be illegal formation on Jawaan Taylor. Again, in that week 1 matchup, Chiefs versus the Lions, a lot of controversy coming out of that Jawaan Taylor stance being so far back, and you can clearly see here on the replay that he is a lot farther back than what he should be. And again, if he's not where he's supposed to be, then yeah. But Montez Valdez-Scantling completely wide open. Chiefs still with 18 seconds left. Mahomes fires this one back. Travis Kelce able to get this one, cover it down. They're going to call a timeout here. And Mahomes slow to get up, and he is in some pain and discomfort. Wonder if they're going to bring him out of the game on this occasion, but took a late hit. We do have a flag here on the play. Mahomes grabbing at his knee. So if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan, that is not something that you ever want to see. Your quarterback but yeah, just taking a look here at the replay. Yannick Ngannou, after that throw was done, he was kind of falling backwards, and you just see the ankle of Mahomes get rolled on, and for the moment appears to be a-okay, but let's see what he's going to be able to do here from the Bears 26-yard line. 1st and 10. Mahomes, quick shot to Travis Kelce, but that was broken up right away by Terrell Smith. Mahomes still moving around gingerly after that one, so he's likely going to get that one taped up and moved on through during halftime. But Chiefs looking to add a lot more points. And you do kind of got to wonder if this Chiefs offense saw what Miami did and said, we want to try to one-up you in this one, knowing that they're going up against the Bears. But Mahomes fires this one to Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce trying to make a few moves and ultimately taken down. So the Chiefs are going to call a timeout with 3 seconds remaining, bringing out Harrison Butker for his second field goal of the game. This one going to be a little bit easier. First one made from 41. But Mahomes still shaken up and in some rough shape walking off the field. 3rd and 4 for Harrison Butker here. Let's see what this... Can he continue to add a lead here? Mahomes likely just going to be looked at. Harrison Butker, perfect this season, 4 for 4. This one from 38, so a little bit closer than what it was last time. This one being booted, and up and through Just like that, the Chiefs continue to add to their lead. This time now it's 34-0, and that is going to bring us into halftime. And what has just been complete and utter domination. Rushing yards for the Bears, 53 to the Chiefs, 91. Passing yards, 221 for the Chiefs to 32 of the Bears, 85 to 312. My, oh my. It is getting ugly in Kansas City. But that is going to bring us to halftime. What are the Bears going to be able to do heading into this second half? And welcome back to part 2. If you didn't check out part 1, make sure to check it in the description. And we'll put a link up here, right here as well. But moving in, and we just finished talking about kind of the Steelers and a lot of that. But taking a look at some of the games this week, we obviously in the last podcast, if you haven't watched that, make sure to go check that out as well. We talked about some of the games that we're looking forward to. But as we get closer to it, it's going to be a lot of really, really interesting games this week. And is there a team or a game that you think might have upset written on it? Obviously, we've already seen an upset once this week, but is there a game? Because I know I have a thought that could potentially be an upset going, but I wonder if you potentially might have one.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say upset just because, I mean, most of these games I'm looking at, both teams aren't very good or both teams are good, and so it's hard to say one would be an upset over the other. I would say one of the most surprising ones for me would be if the Cardinals can somehow pull out a win against the Commanders, despite both teams being a little lackluster. If we're looking at what I think is most likely for an upset, I would say the Colts beating the Jag would probably be the most likely upset I could see happening.
Well, yeah, let's jump into that game and have a conversation about that. That's funny enough, not the actual answer that I have for my potential upset, but Indianapolis taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Jags coming into Indianapolis. Their previous matchup was last year. The Colts actually ended up winning that one 34-27. That was all the way back on the 16th of October. So a long time since these two teams have played each other, and Trevor Lawrence only got better and better and better as the season went on. So this is going to be a fairly interesting game to watch. Obviously, you know, it just screams that the Jags should slaughter the Colts in this one. But Anthony Richardson, if this game is going to be decided by something, it could be Anthony Richardson just saying to the NFL, hey, I'm my show. And if he can go out there and just slaughter it, it could be a very interesting game. But yeah,
and that's just it. Like I said, looking at this week, there weren't a lot where I was like, man, this team could definitely upset the other one. The only one I was thinking of was the game we already seen this week with the Lions upsetting the Chiefs. You know, all the others, even me saying this, I don't think it'll happen. But I think it's the most likely of any upsets that we could potentially see. More so than the Cards beating the Commanders, you know, or, I mean, the Rams. Like, it's tough, you know. A lot of these teams are sort of on par with each other. So it's hard to call it an upset no matter which team wins. You know, so this is one of those ones where it's very much the Jags are on the rise and the Colts are trying to figure out what the hell the future without Jonathan Taylor might look like.
Yeah.
And so it could be, you know, much like we saw last year when all of a sudden Jeff Saturday comes out and is the coach of the Colts, and they come out and they pull off a fucking miracle win
over the Raiders.
You know,
we should state that.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only team he was actually able to beat.
Right? And so that's it could happen. Just like you said, Anthony Richardson could be like, you know what? Jonathan Taylor, who? I'm here now. You know,
this is my
This
show.
team used to be Peyton Manning. It was Andrew Luck for a little while. Now it's me. and this is my show, and this is what's going to happen in the AFC South going forward. And so that would be amazing to see. That would just blow the rails off of that entire AFC South division where, I think we're both firmly on the same page that this is the Jags division to lose.
Oh, without a shred of a doubt. But funny enough, like I said, this isn't the game that I think could potentially be the upset. The game that I think we could actually see, and it would be just shocking, is the Eagles taking on the Patriots. Because the Patriots are at home. This is Bill Belichick, and we've said a ton about Bill not having Tom Brady and the success that he's had both prior to and now, but this is still Bill Belichick. Mac Jones now actually has an offensive coordinator. He didn't have one last year. He had a defensive coordinator calling offensive plays. Like, who the hell comes up with that type of stuff? And the next thing is, are the Eagles going to come out and have that Super Bowl hangover? How often do we see these teams come after the Super Bowl and they lost the Super Bowl going like, yeah, this should be a really, really big win. Last year, we saw the Bengals who lost the Super Bowl. They went out against your Steelers and they ended up falling and they didn't look great. I'm not saying that the Patriots are going to blow out the Eagles or anything, but week one, they're always a lot closer than what a lot of us give the games credit for. And this could very easily be a Patriots win just because they go out there. The Eagles have just been talked about all off season long. Like, oh my God, I can't believe they got Jalen Carter, this, and that. Eagles could go out there and it could just be maybe potentially a little bit too much. But we could also be talking about this and the Eagles walk out there and put up a 27 bomb versus no points allowed. And I just sit back and go, okay, yeah, no, I'll wear my dummy hat today. That type of situation. But to me, that just kind of has one of those feelings where it's like this could potentially be one of those upset games.
Yeah, I mean, you make good points there for sure. I mean, look at the Chiefs. Granted, they were missing a couple key pieces, but they fell here in week one as well with, having maybe some of that Super Bowl hangover was part of it. That maybe that's why Mahomes wasn't able to, pull the rabbit out of the hat and pull the win this time. So yeah, that's a good point. And I mean, another factor is Tom Brady's supposed to be in the building. They're honoring him that night or during that game against the Eagles. So it could be a situation of them wanting to show out for Tom, and be like, hey, like we're still good even without you. Believe in us. But
we know you're a part owner of the Raiders now, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Now the question for Brady, does he come out and just completely don all the Patriots gear, or does he like show off? He's like, I actually own a team, so I'm gonna flex a little bit with this. I'll show some Patriots love for sure.
I think he's gonna probably do a little bit of Patriots love just because of where it is.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think he plans on staying more neutral because even owning a team, he knows that he's going into the broadcasting realm pretty soon here, and he has to remain more impartial as a broadcaster. And so I think we're gonna see a little bit more of that Tom Brady of I'm everybody's fan now.
Yeah, but do we potentially see a Jackie Moon type situation where he's both player, owner, and coach going out there for the Raiders this year? Because how hilarious would that be?
No, I think the only shot of him actually coming out of retirement and actually playing wouldn't even be for the Raiders. It would be Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft calling, going, please come back. This Mac Jones kid just isn't doing it for us. Just get us a couple of wins.
We'll call you Daddy Tom now. We swear. We'll put the new
I don't
models...
see him ever tying the boots up again for any team but the Patriots.
I could see the 49ers.
No, I don't even think so there.
That was his childhood team, man. Like I could look at it like this. If let's say Brock Purdy goes down with an injury like week 12 or something like that, Sam Darnold and he just looks shit the entire game, and they're like, okay, like maybe let's just let's just call Tom. We've lost 2 games this year. We're easily going to be the Super Bowl favorites, blah, blah, blah. Let's see if he'll do it. Call him up and be like, yeah, sure, I'll go win a Super Bowl for my hometown team.
Maybe.
It'd be interesting. I don't think it's gonna happen. I think Brady is firmly retired this time. Um, Knock on wood, we thought that last time too. So
right?
we'll see. But yeah, it's gonna like those are kind of the two games that, yeah, I agree with you, are both kind of the, but for me, that's those Patriots, they have a lot to fight for in that game, and Bill Belichick is gonna have his team ready.
Well, and especially, that team's coming into the season in the basement of their division looking up.
Mm-hmm.
Even though all four teams are 0-0 right now, they're still firmly, all the analysts, all the reporters, everybody says the Patriots are the last place team in that division. They're the worst team. And so they do. They have something to prove. They have a chip on their shoulder. And, Bill Belichick does seem to perform better when he's
Got that chip.
being thought of as the underdog.
Yeah, and they really are. And like, how do you not place them in the basement? Just looking at the division, obviously you have the Bills, who have been kind of the powerhouse since Tom Brady left with Josh Allen, and then you had Miami last year come up and say, hey, don't forget about us. And now the Jets are walking out with Mr. Stoney Rogers,
And Miami would have stayed on par with Buffalo if not for that bad Tua injury last year.
Well, you look at their playoff game, the Bills almost didn't win that against a guy that you and I almost didn't even know about.
Yep.
Like, you're just sitting back going like, how the hell did the Bills almost lose this game? And so now it's a three-team race, and you listen or you look at the Dolphins and you go, man, like they have a real opportunity to go out there against a really good team and the Chargers and say, listen, we had our bumps and bruises last year. We are for real, and they're gonna have to be if they want to get playoff again this year, because the Jets aren't gonna fall apart halfway through the year, or at least we think. Who knows?
Well,
this
you think.
This is the Jets, so anything can happen.
I think they will, but I think the same thing about the Browns. Everybody's like, no, it's Deshaun Watson, it's Aaron Rodgers. These teams are finally turned around, and it's like, no.
But I have a lot more faith in Aaron Rodgers than I do Deshaun Watson.
So do I. I do agree with you there. I think the Jets are more likely to prove that what they've done is enough. And I also don't think the Jets are done. I think the Jets will be making more moves coming up here before the trade deadline to solidify their place and give both Aaron Rodgers and the defense more weapons. I think they're probably going to be one of the teams that makes the most moves this season in order to improve their team, rather than some of these teams that we start selling off guys because they know it's not their year.
Yeah, they're without a doubt the team that is in the highest I'm a buyer team. And I know we talked about this last week, but to me that kind of feels like one of those teams where if the Chiefs were to trade Chan or Chris Jones away, it's one of those things. It's like the Jets, man, they could look at it and go like, yeah, we're not going to give you a weapon, but a first and a second?
I don't know if the Chiefs will let them go without a weapon as well, though. Especially an offensive weapon.
It depends on how far down the line is.
Yeah. I think it'll be one of those, maybe the Jets go, you know what?